Hey Barberton, this is Mayor William Judge with this week's question and answer session. We're going to jump right into this. First question, has the City of Barberton thought about trying to move the post office to the former Stark State building, which has better parking? We could even close the Norton branch of the post office. So the post office is run by the federal government. We did talk to the post office here in Barberton several years ago about another location. And that has to go up the chain of command through the federal government. So the local postmaster does not have control over where they are situated or what building they're in. But we have explored this, not with the former Stark State building, but with another location for ease of access and for a bigger, better location for all their operation. If you've looked at the post office in general for this whole region, mostly talking about the city of Akron, they've moved everything up to the Cleveland area over the last few years. So, but we have looked at that, but again, that's kind of out of our control. Next question, on the corner of 4th and Page over on the east side of town, there's trees that need trimmed or cut down from the tall pines. Also trees over by the water tower, branches over by the water tower that need cleaned up. So we'll go ahead and get on top of that. The trees that are creating a line of sight issue for when you're at the stop sign there on 4th Street, we will communicate with the property owner and get those trimmed back. So we've had a few questions similar to this over the last few weeks, and line of sight is very important. We want to make sure that all the pedestrians, the drivers, and all vehicles are being operated in a safe manner, and so those line of sights are very, very important. Next question. This is from someone who lives outside of town. When I come back to Barberton after being gone maybe a year or more, what has changed? I don't see any new restaurants, things of that nature. So there's quite a bit of things that have changed over the last year. And some of the things I'm going to mention may have opened up, a year and a half ago or past that year time frame. But just recently, Pop's Chicken and Waffles opened up over on Waterloo Road. Winks has reopened and is doing a great job. Hermosillo's over there on the east side over by Winks, that opened up as well. Pre-Game Tavern downtown. So just a few different restaurants that have been opened or reopened over the last few months to a year or so. So a lot of good choices there. Other changes that have happened, a lot of infrastructure improvements that are going on now. So we received money years ago. We received the award of federal money years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. The money is just coming in now for projects like 4th Street downtown, which has undergone their paving. Worcester Road North and West State Street, that intersection, which is ongoing as we speak. Norton Avenue, West Hopkinton and Snyder Avenue, which have all been ground down and are set to be resurfaced here very shortly. So those projects I mentioned, that we were able to receive federal grant money for approximately 80% of the cost. And we've been working on that for the last 5 or 6 years, actually even longer with the application process. But that's been a great change here in the community, so I appreciate that question. For this year, in talking about streets, we're also doing 19 residential streets that is part of the capital street plan through Issue 8 funding. So that's on top of that, plus the Worcester Road West corridor and South Van Buren corridor are going to be totally reconstructed, and they're going through that engineering process and going out for bid. They're very, very involved, so they take a lot of time to get up to the construction phase. So a lot going on the infrastructure side. So those are some of the updates there. If you haven't been back in about a year, we're doing a lot of upgrades to our parks as well, citywide. So please check out our parks next time you're in town. But other businesses that are in town that are kind of outside of the restaurant industry there. Well Now opened up just last year over on the east side. ABC Supply is moving in over at a building in the former Babcox and Wilcox campus. Novex is another business moving in to Barberton. RSS Mackland is one that we just had a ribbon cutting earlier this year. A great business that moved in downtown. Eurofins, another business that moved from the North Canton, Jackson area into Barberton, bought one of the former Babcox and Wilcox buildings. 114 jobs there. So they moved in the other year. Big Mike's Auto over on Norton Avenue and Barber Road area there. Kissinger Welding over there on Barber Road. Barberton Tree is still in the process of moving to Norton Avenue. Their building is finishing up there. And I could go on and on. There's a lot of great things, a lot of changes that have happened over the last few years. So thank you for that question and giving me the opportunity to point those out. I appreciate it. Next question. I'm not sure if this was already answered. What are they doing to the municipal building? This person asked one of our police officers about the work being done at the municipal building. And I'm happy to answer that. The municipal building received a brand new roof and new HVAC system. So if you've been into the building, you know that there's 7 different roof systems for the municipal building because there's different levels. And if you've been into council chambers or which dubs as a courtroom during the day, there's always been a leak in the roof. And it's one of several leaks throughout the building. And those leaks have been around for a long time. So we were able to put a new roof on the building and also new HVAC system. So we had the road closed a few times so we could get a crane to lift up the HVAC system. So those have been installed. And so very excited that the leak has been addressed. And again, it wasn't just one leak. It was multiple leaks throughout the building, but we were able to redo the entire roof system, which was very badly needed. In addition to the leaks, there are other factors and other things that were going on. So very excited about that here at the city building. We want to make sure that the city building is a safe environment for not only employees working here, but for you when you come in to use the city building, whether you're attending a meeting, paying your utility bill, going to the building department, or what have you. So next question, can we eliminate the yard sale permit? It's ridiculous to need one just to do it on our own property. So the yard sale permit is very inexpensive, and you're allowed so many yard sales per year. With the permit, we want to make sure that there is a permit process so we can oversee that. If not, you stand the chance of someone having a yard sale every day in their yard and keeping the materials and the items that they're trying to sell outside on their yard, which we want to be respectful of neighbors. We have rules and regulations on property maintenance that we enforce, so it's important that there's some oversight when it comes to yard sales. With things like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, things like that, there are other options for people to sell their items online as well. Next question, when is Van Buren Road between Vanderhoof and Snyder getting done? That road is a complete disgrace to the city. So this is an area that actually falls within several government jurisdictions. So it's not just all in Barberton. It's part of New Franklin. It's part of Barberton. It links up there with Eastern Road, which also has some ownership from Barberton, New Franklin, and actually Coventry Township. So that kind of corner of Eastern Road and Van Buren between Snyder and Vanderhoof, mostly from Eastern Road to Vanderhoof, multiple jurisdictions own pieces and parts of that. So we're working with not only Coventry Township and the county, but also New Franklin to make sure that we can get that done. The section of South Van Buren between Snyder Avenue and Eastern, we're looking at actually totally reconstructing part of that road. So from South Van Buren from Snyder Avenue to Russell Avenue will be totally reconstructed. And so they're finishing those plans. So that'll be a new water line. That'll be a brand new storm sewer line where there is no storm sewer line now, storm inlets, curb and gutter, new sidewalks. It'll straighten the road out, full depth paving. It's a very expensive project, but it's definitely needed, as you pointed out here. From Russell Avenue to Eastern Road will be resurfaced as well. And then from Eastern Road to Vanderhoof will be taken care of as well. And then Eastern Road from South Van Buren to 5th Street, 619, we're addressing that as well. Again, multiple jurisdictions for those two areas, but over the next few years, starting this year, work is being put into this project. So it's kind of multifaceted there. Okay, this question deals with Lake Anna and the Visitor Center, which is over in the southeast corner. This Visitor Center was put together back in the early 90s by then Mayor Art Bradnick. And so this question talks about there's some TLC that's needed at the Visitor Center there, and we're aware of that. We actually started the other year, several years ago, by looking at this and making a plan to renovate that Visitor Center. So we've looked at that. Last year we actually had a lot of community engagement, working with a lot of agencies and getting feedback from the public. This included public meetings, a survey that was online, actually physically walking the park and getting feedback from residents. This was posted in the paper, it was posted on our website and on social media. So we took all that information and that data, and we are still compiling it. In the meantime, we did apply for a $2 million grant from the federal government through our congressional rep, Amelia Sykes. So I stay in contact with her office all the time, but one of the things that we've been working on with her office is this $2 million grant. It has gone through her office, and we're just kind of waiting for the process to continue, and hopefully over the next few months we have word, and hopefully positive word, of that grant being approved over the next few months. So I continue to work with our congressional rep, Amelia Sykes' office, on this project and other projects, but this is something that we're looking at the whole park and how do we better the park, which includes that visitor center. So thank you for that question. A lot of time and energy has gone into Lake Anna. It's the gem of our city, a great focal point and an asset for downtown, and we want to make the best use of that moving forward. Last question. Water lines and road paving. What about the water lines and road paving that was supposed to be completed by October? No signs have been put up. The mayor said that there was grant money awarded 2 years ago and that has to be used for this. So actually the grant money was awarded to the city. We made application and it was awarded to the city 5 or 6 years ago. Unfortunately, it takes that long for the money to actually come for the project to come under fruition. As I mentioned earlier, the 4th Street corridor downtown, Worcester Road North, West State Street intersection, Norton Avenue, West Hopkinton, and Snyder Avenue are all projects that we applied for years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, and the money is just coming due now. So I'm not sure when this question came through, but 4th Street is pretty much completed. Norton Avenue, West Hopkinton, and Snyder Avenue have been grounded down or in the process of being grounded down and will be resurfaced over the next few weeks. Worcester Road West is another project where we're receiving approximately 80% of the funding, the cost, by the federal government. That will start later this year. South Van Buren is another project that is federal grant money and state grant money, and that'll start later this year. Taylor Road is another one on the far west side where we applied for funding for a new water line. That project is ready to kick off here. We're working with the contractor and the agency that provided some of the funding for the new water line, so that should be kicking off here very, very shortly. In addition to all of those, we have 19 streets, residential streets, that are under construction right now with resurfacing. So they're all over the city, from the north end to the east, to the west and the south and downtown. So there's a lot of infrastructure improvements going on. Your tax dollars being levied for additional grant funding from the federal government and the state government, but a lot of projects going on. So with that, I ask for your patience. I know that it gets kind of burdensome to go down a street, a normal way to get to where you're going, and it's under construction, but I ask for your patience as we continue to improve the community with all the infrastructure improvements that are going on. Appreciate your questions. Get more questions back to us for next week, and we'll get you those answers. And stay tuned. More projects on the way.